Judges chapters 17 to 19 today, and this is another section where things are going kind of nuts, to put it mildly. We start off with a chap called Micah going to his mother and saying, "I'm very sorry, mummy, I stole 11,000 shekels of silver from you." I looked this up, and it turns out 11,000 shekels of silver would weigh about 13 kilos, which in today's money is worth about 10 grand. So, I mean, we're talking more than needing a clip round the ear and no tea. Mum, however, turns around and says, "May the Lord bless you." It's a bit weird. I think the clip round the ear and no tea would have made more sense. But then he gives the money back to her. She takes 200 shekels of this silver and uses it to make some idol for him, which Micah then takes home and puts in his shrine at his house, where he's got a shrine with some little gods and his son, who's his priest. Sounds like the setting for a horror movie, doesn't it? It's very, very odd. We then cut to a man who is a Levite who's randomly travelling to the area, and he asks, can he come and stay with Micah? It's a bit weird, but I suppose in that day and age perhaps that might be normal. So okay. Micah though says, "Yes, come in, it's all good," but goes so far as to offer him money, say, "You can live here and then you can be my priest and my father, and I'll give you food and all the rest of it." So that horror movie theme setup seems to continue. And then oddly enough, the Levite turns around and says, "Yeah, great, that's a wonderful idea." And I'm like, okay, that's a little odd. In terms of things being odd, also, of course, this is a Levite being one of the priestly tribe of Israel. So this guy is a priest anyway. And there are idols in the house. So I assume I'm missing something, because God wouldn't like there being idols. So how come this Levite's come along and seen this? So something odd going on. It's written in a way that seems very relaxed and groovy. But it's almost like it seems well intentioned, but there's that jarring factor of the idols being there, so I don't really get what's happening there. From there, however, we just veer off to talk about the Danites. Danites being one of the descendants of one of the tribes of Israel. And it turns out they haven't got their land, which was a bit odd, because back in Joshua chapter 19, verse 40, there was talk of everyone having their inheritances in terms of land, and the Danites had theirs. But then I saw later on it noted in brackets that the Danites somehow managed to lose their land. There's a contradiction here in Joshua. It talks about the land that they get later on being called Leshem. And in this book it talks about it being Laish, Laish, whatever. So there's two different names for the town, but the story is otherwise the same. So I think you can see how that might work. So we'll let that go. It does make you wonder, whoever wrote the book of Joshua, presuming Joshua, the other way around. Whoever wrote the book of Judges, which was obviously written much later, or seems to be written much later, had they read the book of Joshua? Don't know. Anyway, so then we have these Danites, 600 of them, going to go and do some scrapping, and along the way they bump into Micah. They stop at Micah's house and they pick up this Levite and say, "You come with us, you can be our priest rather than this guy's priest, and you can serve 600 people rather than one." So Levite, off he goes. They also decide to take a load of Micah's idols and things, and I'm not sure if that's to confiscate them because he shouldn't have them because idols are terrible. Don't quite know. But then that's kind of it for that part of the story. It seems a bit random. We then pick up with another Levite, who I assume is a different Levite, who is then going from wherever he is to somewhere else. It's not clear why particularly. It does sound like he's travelling with a servant, 2 donkeys and a concubine though. And he needs somewhere to stay along the way, and he decides that the important criteria for where he should stay is that it should be an Israelite city. So he goes to one of Benjamin's cities, the tribe of Benjamin, and stays in this town called Gibeah. So bearing in mind that this is a town populated by Israelites, who is not the bull worshippers setting fire to people and doing really horrible, terrible things. This is the goodies staying there. He walks into town anyway, and some old man takes him and his entourage in, for want of a better word. But very Sodom and Gomorrah style. As it says, several wicked men of the city then surround the house. So there's quite a few of these. And these men then demand to have the Levite man sent out to them in order to have their wicked way with him. Exactly as in the story of Sodom and Gomorrah. Presumably these were people who hadn't read the story of Sodom and Gomorrah, but whatever. Again, in keeping with the story of Sodom and Gomorrah, the man who took the people in says to this crowd outside, "This is outrageous behaviour." It's like, yeah, you think. But decides that non-outrageous behaviour would be to offer his daughter and or this concubine instead. I'm not clear if the daughter and the concubine are the same. It's possible because this is written really weird. But either way, the person who is designated as the concubine is sent out to this mob, who then have their way with her all night in the fullest, worst and most horrific sense. They then release her at daybreak, and she says that she just slumps on the porch because she is exhausted or whatever. The Levite, the priest guy, just says, "Oh, come on, get up, we need to get going." And she can't. He then picks her up and puts her on the donkey to take her away. And then it goes... the nuts just sort of escalates in this, because we end up with... she's clearly dead. He chops her up, and he sends... into 12 bits and sends each of those bits to different areas of Israel. I have read ahead a little bit, and it seems like she actually died of the abuse she had the night before, so it's not like he's killed her. Still, he's not going to win any humanitarian prizes, is he, for sending her out to the mob. But it seems like he's making some sort of statement by she has died, so he's then chopped her up and sent her off to make some sort of statement about this is what people are doing and it's not okay. So we'll pick that up in the next one. But this story of Sodom and Gomorrah was just one of the most ridiculous things I've ever heard anyway. And it's actually repeating, but actually even worse, because at least in that one, the angels stopped the mob. So, yeah. We're nearly there with the Book of Judges anyway, which has been something of a roller coaster. It's going to be interesting to figure out how to sum this all up, because there's some really, really crazy stuff in here. But yeah, so... last one in the next video, and then we'll be on to the summary and then on to the next book.